Welcome back to Lingual Twist. I'm Dr. E, and this is my co-host.
Dr. Daniel Smiles.
I thought it would be fun to talk about Cheater Pumpkin Eater.
Never heard of that in my life.
Seriously?
No. Today's going to be a spicy episode, and it could be a little bit controversial. So,
How do we define cheating, right? I think there is a lot of temptation within dental school or in society to get ahead, obviously. And whether that means financially, with our grades, whatever, you could define it however you would like. But the idea that sometimes you have to do things that are a little bit blurry. And is that considered ethical? Is it wrong? Is it right? When is it right? When is it wrong? Like the little white lies. Is that a problem? It's not horrible. It's just stretching the truth.
yeah, but it starts from that, and then you build up on each other. And then that little white lie, it accumulates, and then what is it going to be? It's
Yeah.
just going to be so second nature to you that it's so passive. And that's when it starts to become a problem. Once in a while, it starts becoming more habitual, and then it's going to be a lot more constant.
Who hates lying more than anyone you know? I hate when people lie to me. It's the worst. It's the worst. I'd rather be upset with you telling me the truth than being lied to. I get exponentially more upset if someone lies to me.
Why though?
Because people who I love and want to build relationships with are built on trust. And when you lie to me, you're breaking that trust. And I think that trust is where relationships really begin to unfold. It's when you're able to become more vulnerable with someone because you trust them. So when you lie to me, it's saying, I don't really want a relationship with you, or I don't value that relationship because you're breaking that trust. I think that's what really bothers me if I have to think about it.
You know what? I totally agree, because you're working so hard to build something, right? And it's like every relationship, the foundation of that relationship is trust.
Right.
So it's like, how is it going to be? It shows more about the other person that's lying, how they really don't care. They're trying to just gain from the situation. How is it going to benefit them? How am I going to wiggle my way out of this one? And yeah, it looks like a short-term solution. It looks like a solution, but it's a short-term one. And you don't know the repercussions and the effects that it's going to have at the end of the day, because life is a circle. What comes around goes around. Eventually, I feel like it's going to bite the person in the ass.
It also shows that if you're lying, you can't trust me to control my own emotions, right? I don't want to tell mom about breaking her favorite dish because she might get really upset at me and explode at me. And I don't want to feel that shame. I don't want to feel that horrible feeling. And so I'm just going to lie. And so she misplaces that anger or upsetness on something else. So it's kind of the ball is in our court as the responder, right? If you want to allow people to be more honest with you and trust you, then you have to show them that your reaction isn't going to be overwhelming to the other person. So I would say for someone like me, I've worked really hard in having very even reactions to things that might, let's say my kid broke my favorite dish. It's just a dish. And if I heard that my kid wasn't willing to tell me or trust me with that information, I would feel like it's a flaw in myself.
Yeah, but now you're looking at it in a very non-human way. Most people are not like that.
I'm human.
Yeah, but most human beings are not like that. You're saying, oh, I don't want this person to lie. Like, I don't want people to lie to me in general. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on myself so I can be an approachable person, so people can feel comfortable telling me the truth. Most people don't do that. Like, if I broke a dish,
But that's
my
why,
mother would
right.
she would get very upset at me. And sometimes, and I'll be honest, sometimes I say, like, what is the benefit in the situation of saying the truth to this person? Like, is it going to benefit? Is there any good that's going to come out of saying the truth? Is it only going to hurt the person? So might as well, why even mention it? If there is no good to come out of it, and it's going to hurt someone, and it's going to hurt someone, and like they say, ignorance is bliss. If they don't know, it won't hurt them. So why say the truth and end up hurting that person?
Correct. So there are two separate issues. One is me, Dr. E, and then there's other people.
That's what I'm saying. Humans, and then Dr. E.
But that's why I don't like when people lie to me, because I feel like I've worked so hard and I feel like it's a failure onto myself when you if you have an inkling to lie, like you're saying, I have to lie to my mom because I know how she's going to react. But if you know how I react, then you wouldn't feel a need to lie to me because I would never explode. And therefore, you don't have the justification for the lie. Whereas if you knew someone was going to get upset, then you have the justification for lying.
So how,
Does that make sense?
that makes sense. But now, how does this tie into dental education or education in general? Because you're a teacher.
It's a
So
great
when
question.
someone
So
cheats,
I think there's motivation behind cheating, right? People don't just wake up and say, I want to be a cheater. I think there's a lot of pressure that people put on themselves, that families put on them, right? What if I come home and I come in with a less than ideal grade? What if I fail this course? What if I don't match for oral surgery? And people might feel that they're disappointing their families, their loved ones, people who sacrificed for them to be where they are today. And so I think it comes back to something selfish, and not selfish in a negative way, but about me, right? Like I'm saying, like, I want to work on myself. And so when people lie to me, I feel badly because I feel like maybe I have to work on myself to be a more trusting person so people don't have to lie. So for that individual in school, it's the same thing. I failed this test. I have to work on myself to study harder so I don't disappoint other people. Like part of the dental school's admissions process is a weeding out process.
yes.
Can you juggle? That's why they make you take organic chemistry and physics and biology and chemistry and all these challenging undergraduate classes to say, like, hey, could you juggle a course load? Because when you get to graduate school, you're going to have to take physiology and anatomy and biochem and.
Yeah.
And could you say, like, well, I'll fail all the basic sciences as long as I get through my dental school classes? No, that's not going to make you a dentist. And you can't just, vice versa, only focus on one. It's a dual curriculum. And so that's why it's so important that you're able to manage your undergrad and get the scores that you get so that when you get to dental school, you're able to manage that coursework.
I hear that.
And
But
then there's the issue of disability. And I think that nowadays is a very big deal because I think that there are a lot of people with various disabilities and it allows them to get either extra time or get, you know, different types of medications to help them focus. And so the stuff is out there, the stuff is available, and some people are taking it because their brain chemistry is wired in such that they very much need it in order to function in their everyday life. And then I think there are some people who take it to help them laser focus.
so, do you think it's cheating if someone takes Adderall who doesn't need to take Adderall?
Do I think it's cheating? I don't know. That's a really good question because I know I drink a lot of coffee to stay focused, but coffee is also a stimulant.
Yeah, but it's not a controlled substance. It's a
Should
drug.
be. It's really expensive. um,
No, but seriously, a controlled substance that is prescribed to someone,
mhm.
for them, I would say fine. They need it. They're chemically,
They need it.
they need it to help them focus and to do better in school. But for someone that is not prescribed it, is that considered a problem? Because I remember
I
on the
definitely don't
first day
think.
of dental school, when I first started dental school, one of our first classes, it was an ethics class, and the professor said, "Is Adderall?" He said Adderall is considered cheating, and then I personally, this might be very controversial. I personally raised my hand, and he asked us, he's like, "Do you guys think it's cheating?" So I said, I don't think it's cheating, but I think it is some form of cheating. And then the professor looked at me and he's like, Daniel, what does cheating mean? He said cheating is cheating. And then I said, respectfully, I don't think the same. I said, no, I don't really agree with you because there's cheating. What does that mean? That's me writing the answers down on my hand or whatever before an exam and then using that to study, using that to take the exam or copying my friend's paper. That's cheating. This cheating is you took something, a controlled substance to help you study. You still did the work at the end of the day. You sat down for 10 hours, you studied. So how is that considered cheating if I'm like that's why I'm saying it's not cheating, but it is some form because yeah, you are using something to give you an upper hand compared to everyone else. You're not
Mm,
on the same playing field.
that's what I was going to say. I didn't mean to cut you off before. I apologize. But I think that, I shouldn't say but, I should say and. My thoughts on the thing on this topic is that it's definitely not cheating.
So you agree that cheating and cheating are different things.
Yeah, cheating's cheating.
Thank you.
Hmm.
Not to completely disregard something, but instead of reading a 30-page textbook, I could copy and paste that textbook, put it into ChatGPT, and say, "Explain this for me." Is that considered cheating now?
Yeah,
Because
like,
I'm using an upper hand, that a resource that not everyone knows about.
I mean, like KFC chicken is still dinner, even if I didn't make it. I could tell my mother-in-law it's dinner.
You could put it in a pan and say that it came out of the oven.
It did.
Exactly, their oven or their fryer.
um, so that's what I'm saying. I think there's different rules. What I do think about it, going back to the original question, is do I think it's cheating? It's not cheating. I think that it does give people an upper hand. And I don't know that that's fair. And
Life
so
isn't fair.
I know I knew someone was going to say that, and by someone, the other person in the room with me. But um, there's some people who can't function without it, and then there are
They
people who
take it.
take it as a way to help them become even better. And these people aren't taking it to become even better. It's like having an upper respiratory infection and taking a steroid versus being a totally healthy person and taking a steroid, and then you're both running a marathon. Like one person wouldn't have been able to run the marathon without the steroid, and the other person's just running faster with the steroid. There are always going to be people who have an advantage. And the question is, do you want to leave people who were born into a situation behind? If somebody needs something to function versus someone takes it as an enhancer, then it is cheating. And even every sports, NFL, NBA,
Yeah.
whatever else,
Yeah, you can.
you can take enhancers for that reason. But
Yes.
why? I took an enhancer so I was able to, stay up late and practice my foul shots or my 3 pointers. And now I'm on the court. It's game day. I think any sports institution is going to be cool with that.
I agree.
I, of course, hear both sides, but I can't take both sides.
I'm taking both sides.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah, I am. I said I think it's considered cheating. Is it fair? I don't think it's fair. I do not think that it's fair at all. However, at the same time, you are still doing all of the work. The mom that has 3 kids that's in the same program with me, and she has so many other tasks, and she's not able to. So the
So she
three
should.
hours, so the 3 hours that this mom does have to focus, she wants to be lasered in. So she wants to take the Adderall, and she wants to be focused in, so she could kind of be on the same playing field as the guy that's single and has the 10 hours in the day to study. Like if we're
It's a
talking
good
about being
question.
fair, no student in dental school is the same. So we
Like,
can't use we can't use the argument of it's not fair that one person has an upper leg, because if we're using that, everyone has a leg that's in a different direction.
so what we're saying is everyone should be able to take Adderall to help
I'm not
focus.
saying that everyone should take Adderall to help them focus. I think that every person should do what they need to do to be able to help them do better. And now I'm not saying write all the answers before the exam and take that. That I'm not saying that at all. That because that is not helping you become a better practitioner. That's you literally cutting corners, and it's going to screw you in the long run. But taking something that's just enhancing your ability to study more efficiently and better, I don't it's really hard for me to see the negative impact on that, because it's not coming from laziness.
I hear you. I actually, you kind of have me sold on it. Like you're still doing the work. Again, I could go either way
Like,
because
what is it to my teacher's business on how I studied for this exam? I use whiteboard method. I blurred it out. I write it on a paper 1,000 times. I took a medication to help me write it 1,000 times. Like, it's as long as I'm giving you the information legally, what is the problem about how I stored it in my head?
I guess it comes back to why is it controlled?
Because it is an addictive substance. It does have the health problems associated with it. It does that is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It is passing the blood-brain barrier. There are certain things, but that is in its own category. The health concerns, I don't think has anything to do with the performance concerns. If they were concerned on our health when it comes to studying, they wouldn't be giving us residency hours from 24 to 48-hour shifts. Oh, now, not, but you're concerned about our health if we're taking a medicine?
That's a good point. You're saying it's an all or nothing package. If you're concerned about our health, mental health, physical health, and therefore you don't want us to take Adderall, well, then let's talk about how many hours we're allowed to study or allowed to be in the school building or allowed to do X, Y, and Z, or
Don't
how
give
many
us.
extracurriculars that we need to do, or how many community service or relaxation hours we're required to take per week.
Yeah, but then you could say every
But then,
student does it. Like the students that don't take it, they're doing it fine, aren't they? Like the students that don't take any controlled substances, that don't need anything to help them. They're doing the community service. They're in school all hours of the day. They're studying. They're having their personal life, and they're able to do it. So if they can do it, why can't you? And to that I say, because I'm not them. I'm different than her. I'm different than him. And I'm different than all the other one of them. But I'm not questioning how they're doing anything, nor
You
should
know,
they question how I.
yeah, I think if we'd ask society, I think they'd be fine with taking Adderall. And I'm going to mention something, and people might get really mad at me, but the drug Ozempic that's on the market for type 2 diabetes, right?
Huh.
How many people are taking it not for that reason?
And they're
And
not getting clapped at it at all.
correct. So I feel like that's kind of the similar idea, right? Like it's just it's not that I can't control myself to eat, it's that it's nice to have something that helps me control my hunger. Um so I think if you'd poll society, I don't think they would see taking Adderall as a disadvantage or cheating. They would just say it just
It makes a
helps.
difference.
It just helps with the process.
Yeah. And again, that's not me saying I'm promoting people taking controlled substances at all. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is people that do take it, they shouldn't be shunned for taking it, or they shouldn't be viewed as less than, or the people that don't take anything and they do it, that's amazing. That's great. The people that take it to do it, that I don't think that that's wrong. The people that are writing the questions before the exam and writing it on their hand and then taking the exam, that I think is wrong. Because if I tell you after that exam, I wash your hands, you have no information on your body at all whatsoever. Then I ask you, what is 5 plus 5? And you cannot answer that question, that shows that you cheated. But if you did take that medication or whatever you did, and I ask you that question and you can answer it, the information is in your brain.
Well, what about if you have access to an old exam that wasn't released? And
I think
now
that's a
you
problem.
why? That's see, I don't know because people study old exams in order to teach themselves the material. So it's not like memorizing 5 plus 5, it's understanding that 5 plus 5 equals 10. So if you sit with the old exam and you learn the information from the exam, then is that cheating? Because you learned the material.
But did you, for example, I agree with you halfway, and I'll tell you why. If the student, well, if the student just memorized the exam,
Mm-hmm.
so like,
I think that's a problem.
if I see, it's like word association
Yeah,
play.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I see that, oh, I remember that. I see that, I remember. That I think is a problem. If the student, and this is how I studied for the DAT myself, I took the old exams. This is exactly how I did the bio section, and I did pretty well in the bio section. I didn't even look at any of the old, like any of the chapters, the sections, the study for. I didn't look at any of that. I went straight into the practice tests. I took the first practice test. I got like a 12. I got every question almost wrong. But what did I do? So let's say it took me 30 minutes or 40 minutes. I don't remember how long to take that bio section.
Mm-hmm.
It would take me at least 4 or 5 hours to review my old exam. Why? I would go through each question. Okay, this is the question. Now why? And I got it wrong. Okay, what does answer choice A mean? How would the question be formulated for answer A to be right? How would it be formulated for answer B to be right? And I would understand every single question, the reasonings for all of them. Then I would take another practice exam. I got 5 less answers wrong. And I do the same process. Eventually, you're going to know all of the topics without needing to study all of the topics. Why? Because now you know all the high yield and you know how to answer them and why they're correct. You didn't memorize the answers. You understood from the questions all of the answers, you know?
Mm-hmm. I
And I
mean,
think
that's why some schools don't allow professors to keep the exams. Some schools make people release old exams so that everyone has access to them to use it as a learning tool. And then the professor has to write a new exam every year.
yeah. So now I think it's on the professor now. It's not really on the student. So meaning if I were to take an exam and if it was released to the
Mm-hmm.
students, right? And I studied from that exam and I didn't just memorize because how am I supposed to know what you're thinking in your head as the professor if you're going to change it or not? I'm not in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm studying the exam and I'm not memorizing. I'm understanding each question. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
learning it. In short, to answer what you said about is an old exam considered cheating? I think it depends on how the student is utilizing that old exam. Are they doing it as a shortcut or are they using it as a learning tool?
I think that's a really great question. And honestly, I'd love to hear from the audience what their opinion is on these two topics, which is using old exams and taking Adderall when not prescribed. Let's discuss academic integrity. I think every school has an honor code, And it's required that the students follow that honor code during exams, testing.
100%.
What do we do when people don't follow the honor code? Not we as a school, we as society.
I think that really has a big impact. I think that says a lot about a person's character. Again, if they're cheating on an exam, how are they going to be in the real world? Whenever, let's say for dentistry, if you cheated on your class one, for example, and you gave in another tooth instead of actually you doing the class one, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So short term, oh, okay, I passed a summative, that's great. Long term, you don't know how to do a class one or a class two properly, and that's going to mess you over for real world. You could say, oh, I'll learn it eventually in the clinic and this and that. Can you? Possible. But what's going to happen in the future if you're going to have to, your money is tight and you know that you can just tweak some things up on the insurance documents? Now what? It's only going to get bigger and bigger.
Many people feel that they should have incentives to have students follow the honor code. And, not to mock myself or any other comedians out there. I'm not a comedian. I'm just saying it's a Chris Rock line. Like, what do you want, a cookie? Like, if you're following the honor code, should we be rewarding you
No, I
or
think it's
should we be
basic.
punishing people who don't follow the honor code?
It's a rule and you broke the rule.
And then what?
And then it's up to the faculty member and it's up to the school, the board to decide what's going to happen.
And how do we motivate students to be honest?
As a student, I think the best way to motivate a student to be honest is to just make sure that they have all the resources that they need to do well. For example, and I'll be very honest, when I was in your class,
Mm-hmm.
the idea never even crossed my mind
Mm-hmm.
to ever do something dishonest in your class. Why? Was it hard? Yeah, the class was a hard class. But why didn't that idea ever cross my mind? Because I know that you provided us, or you provided, yeah, us as a class, all of the resources that we possibly need to do exceptionally well in your class. You gave us amazing PowerPoints, not just some BS PowerPoints that were from the textbook that
They're chat
no one.
GPT. No, I'm just kidding.
And if they were, that's not a problem.
They're not.
But that no one, like, you didn't give us PowerPoints that nobody can understand. You gave us live lectures that were interesting and that were very interactive. You gave us hands-on learning. You sat with us for office hours to ask any questions that we ever had. You were very cautious to make sure that we always were on top of our stuff. And that's something that not a lot of professors can say that they do. Now, are we going to say, oh, because the professor is more old school, that gives the student a reason to not be honest? No. But do I think that it'll really lessen the student's need or desire or whatever it is to want to even be dishonest? Yeah, I think it really will. I think it really is a team effort. It's just as much as the student's job it is to do well as it is the faculty's job to teach well. You cannot just tell me read pages 57 to 157 and we're going to have an exam on it next week. How it are you making your life a lot easier by just telling me what to do for your job, which is just to read, and my job so much harder because I don't just have your class.
Mm-hmm.
I have 8 other classes. So the least you can do is meet me halfway and try to at least teach it to me. Why do I need to pay $100,000 just to be watching so many YouTube videos on how to do something?
Yeah, you make a really good
So I
point.
think that's the incentive: is have great faculty, and the students are not going to even need to because they're already going to know the information.
Right. I actually hear that because I really do try to teach so that you guys don't have to study. You're kind of just glossing over your notes and
Yeah.
reviewing. And I think that goes back to our previous podcast, which are teaching habits and study habits, which is if you understand the how and the why, it's less memorization than it is understanding. It's that really deep understanding that allows you to maintain that knowledge. Like just to say like, the kidney produces urine, and you're just like, well, I don't know that I'll memorize that. Or, you understand sodium potassium pumps. But when you really understand the whole system, you're like, oh, yeah, like I could relate to that better. And it's important to break it down into small steps. And even today, I was giving a lecture and I said something, and in my head, I was like, I'm kind of lying because it's not 100% true, but they need to think this is true to understand this semester's work. And what I was talking about was leaving decay behind. I said, you can never ever leave decay behind, right? And in my head, I'm like, well, it's not
That's
really
not really
true.
true. Yeah, you have a good skill,
But,
you'll be fine.
right, like, well, it depends how close we are to the pole. But like, it would just confuse them. So I always tell students, like, just listen to everything I'm saying. I try to lay down the foundation and make it nice and solid. So when we build on more complicated topics, like where dentistry is today, how we got there, why it's justified, and why it is a gold standard, and it's not bad dentistry to leave a little decay right above a pulp horn, you know, as long as we have, the necessary things to make it a good restoration. I think it's important that understanding the process, laying it down into small bits of information are really important. And even as a student myself, because I would consider myself a student, I'm always learning. The easier you make it for me to learn, the less of incentive I have to be either drop the subject, forget about it, cheat, or anything of the sort.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a really good point.
At the end of the day, we're not condoning anyone using any substances to do anything. I don't think that it's, is it ethically correct? I don't think that it is ethically correct. However, everyone should do what they need to do to be able to make sure that they know the information, to learn the information, however that may be, whether that's looking at the information 5 minutes before the exam or whatever it is. I think they should all do their own thing. I don't think that it's ever okay to do things that are unethically correct and that can hurt yourself or hurt other people or anything for that matter. I think that we as a society should be going towards a route that's more prone for students to want to do well and not feel like they need to have to do well.
Hmm.
And I think that's all what it's about at the end of the day. I think it's the teacher's job to do amazing, just that it is the student's job to do their work greatly.
Yeah, and study.
And study. Study. Listen, especially for people that are in their doctorate programs, that are in their master programs, that are even in their bachelor, like even in high school. You're here to learn.
Hmm.
So stop trying to take shortcuts that are going to stop you from getting your potential to learn.
But while you're here, make sure you learn in any way necessary.
Yeah, and make the best of it. Are you excited to end dental school? Like, are you excited that it's that you're gonna finish soon? No, I'm not. I don't want it to end. Why? Because I like the environment I live in. I mean, I like that I'm able to learn and that I'm able to have so many mentors around me to teach me right from wrong. And like, I'm afraid to go into the real world without having all these mentors behind my back. And yeah, eventually is it going to happen? Yeah, but while I'm here in the moment, I'm going to absorb that information as much as I possibly can and the people around me.
Yeah, that next week's topic will be on mentorship, because I never want you to fear leaving dental school thinking that you won't have a mentor. I think that the relationships that you form here are between the mentors, between your friends, could easily last a lifetime. So I just had my best friend from dental school visit me on Monday. It was such an amazing day. Like, we're still on such a high from it. And you ride a lot of waves in dental school. And when you go through that with someone, it kind of bonds you forever. So seeing her was it was literally like the medicine I needed. I just had such a wonderful day. And it invigorated me, because in dental school, you're all in it together, you're on a team, and then, you graduate, you go somewhere else, you divide up. And so you don't see them every day. And so you don't have that daily support. But the phones are not far away, and with Zoom and FaceTime and every other type of platform we have to communicate, your mentors and your friends that you make here are really forever. And I think that finding that proper mentor is important and is a topic we definitely should discuss.
I love that. And with that, everyone, thank you for tuning into this week's episode. We'll see you on the next one.
See ya.